So we're going to continue our study of Mareh Yaakov, and as with every week, we go through something in the Parsha of the week to hopefully see if the learning that we've done translates over into other Parshiot that were not translated in the Sefer. And in this week's Parsha, we have a very famous line that we all know: "V'shamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat, la'asot et Shabbat l'doratam brit olam." The people of Israel kept the Shabbat in order to make the Shabbat for their generation a covenant forever, a covenant for the world. And we realize that this is given after we have sort of the final bit of instruction of what's going to go on in the temple. And we have to relate the fact that Shabbat observance at that point becomes different from what Shabbat observance was before. So we have V'shamru, the way that they're going to keep it, and they were given certain laws at Marah, and then more laws at Sinai, and then more once they got the concept of what the temple was and what was to be done in the temple. So V'shamru, you're going to have a light connection to what's come from before, but mostly moving forward into the way that Shabbat is going to be observed afterwards. So we would think that the word V'shamru has light connection to before, but mostly going into what's forward, a mercha. So we all agree that's the right note for that. Bnei Yisrael, the people of Israel, and this is going to the way that Shabbat observance is going to sort of complete the people of Israel. So they are going to have the idea of looking back at their Shabbat observance, and that's going to be something that's going to complete them. So Bnei Yisrael is going to have the tipcha. It's going to have the note that says we're related to what's come from before, and that sort of completes us, and we're going to pause after that. Shabbat is going to be Shabbat whether the people of Israel are there to observe it or not, and it is something that looks up towards heaven. So we're going to have an etnachta, something that says it's there, it's stable, it rests by itself, and it's got an upward bent towards it, et Shabbat with an etnachta. Now, we have the concept of Shabbat being something that was heavenly and comes down to earth. So la'asot, in order to make it, we have something that's coming downwards. So we're going to see a darga. La'asot, et Shabbat. So once Shabbat has come down, we're going to have this ability to literally dwell within the Shabbat, and it's going to give us a sense of peace and a sense of security. So it's going to have a tavir. It's going to be, the Orach Chaim has, I didn't count them all. There were at least 10 and possibly more different interpretations that he gave for the phrase La'asot et HaShabbat. One of them brings a midrash from Breshit Rabbah, and he says that all of the days came in front of God, and Shabbat came in front of God, and complained all of the other days have another day that they pair with, and Shabbat did not have a partner. And Hashem turned to the day of Shabbat and told it, don't worry, once the Jews get Shabbat and get the observance in its completest sense, you will be completed as well because you'll have the people of Israel as your partner. And certainly the tavir, that stability that Shabbat is going to not only give but receive for itself, fits into that tavir very nicely, I think. So I think that's perhaps the one of the many interpretations that the Orach Chaim gives to this phrase. Lidorotam.
So that tavir is under what?
Under Shabbat. Shabbat.
It's in you already.
So it's both stabilizing for the people of Israel, but also stabilizing for the Shabbat, in the sense that now Shabbat has a proper zivug, a proper match to it.
You see, the note is two parts also.
Yes, they're cuddling.
They're cuddling, right. They're protecting Shabbat. The Shabbat with the Shabbat, woo, that's really good.
Lidorotam. So here we have the concept of this and so L'Doratam literally means for their generation. L'Doratam, in most of the times that it is spelt Malay. It's spelled Lamed Daled Vav Resh Tav Tet Mem Safit. Here, this one, it's written chaser. It's written without the vav. Without the vav after the resh. Here it's written without the vav after the resh. Here it's written chaser. So it could be pronounced or split into two words, L'Dor Tam. So for a generation in which there is completeness, this is what's going to happen. So the Midrash again tells us that if there was more than one Shabbat that was completely and properly observed, that Mashiach would have come at that instant.
One or two.
Possibly one, possibly two. It depends on which of the Midrashim that you read. So L'Dor Tam, if there was a generation that had that completeness, that would end this cycle of observance because it wouldn't be necessary anymore. So this is something that's going to look backwards and is going to close. So again, we have a tipcha, Brit Olam, and regardless of how Shabbat observance is or isn't, there's going to be this covenant, this pact that says that as much effort as the Jewish people are going to put into protecting the Shabbat is going to protect the Jewish people. So this is going to be something that is an element of stability, and it gets the stabilizing sof pasuk. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat, merchak tipcha et nachka, lasot et Shabbat dargat savir, l'doratam tipcha Brit Olam sof pasuk. Pause for a minute, and we'll find out this.